And we're going to speak to Gersson Rosas, who is part of the Minnesota Timberwolves as president of basketball operations, about that. Like, how do you handle this on a competitive side of things? And how about that? We say his name one time, and the legend is joining us. Look at this. Look at this. Reunited. Gersson Rosas in the house.
Man, I didn't know you guys were going full dress up day today, man. I thought it was casual weekend, casual attire.
To be fair, we all the Timberwolves gear you sent got lost in the mail.
Hey, man, it's in transit. It's a tough time right now with the pandemic, man. It's the turnaround times aren't as quick as they used to be, but they're on their way. I don't know if you'll ever wear it over your Rockets gear, but it's
Gerson,
definitely on the way.
I root for people, and you are one of a kind, so I will gladly rock my Timberwolves gear.
I remember when we used to do this before there were podcasts, when you guys were on the floor and you guys were creating advancements in technology. Nobody had the concept before you guys had the concept.
There you go.
Hey, we got to cut that up and put that as we got a freaking GM talking well about us. This is good. G Money, and I drop you G Money because I feel like I've known you since I was a child. We've known each other for 20 years, man, and just to watch your journey from not only Westbury Christian, University of Houston. If I remember correctly, one of your first gigs with the Rockets too was videotape coordinator. Am I right there?
Yeah, I've been fortunate, and I think why I appreciate it as much. It's starting at the bottom and working your way up, and intern initially with the Houston Rockets in the basketball operations side, and even working on the corporate side with the Houston Rockets. So whatever it took to get my foot in the door. And I'm very blessed and fortunate to have had a lot of people that have helped me along that path and to have known you guys along the way as well.
You know, it's so funny. We always hear that from people where, when you were announced as the president of basketball operations, it was almost like people that aren't in the circle, they're going, oh, wait, who's this guy? Is this a new guy? Like, what's happening here? And you go, no, like everyone has this journey. And, whether it be an artist, a comedian, you start looking at their backstory and you go, whoa, he's been at this for 20 plus years, or he's been trying to get this break. And we only see the break. But, man, you have been you've just been the perfect blueprint for anybody that's trying to make it in the cutthroat environment that is the NBA, that it's not going to be overnight. It's going to take some time, and rightfully so, right, Gersson? Because you got to learn these things. It's a whole new environment that you can't train for.
I'm fortunate that somebody gave me an opportunity and somebody was willing to sit down with me, which was Dennis Lindsay at a very early point in my career. But I mean, you guys know it just makes it sweeter, and you guys have your own success stories. There's a lot of people that have been able to see their dreams become a reality, and I'm one of the fortunate few to have done that. But I wouldn't have had it any other way. I didn't play in this league as an immigrant. Basketball. There's not a lot of individuals like myself in front offices, so it was a real experience in terms of learning, growing, developing, and understanding what was necessary to get to this level. But, starting at the bottom as an intern, I had some harsh realities given to me when I really felt like I had my foot in the door. And after 2 years with the Rockets, thought I was going to have an opportunity to move forward. And I ended up being told by Dennis Lindsay, hey, you're not ready. You got to go get some more experience. So as David mentioned, I left the Rockets, went to Westbury Christian. I was an assistant coach there. I was a graduate assistant at the University of Houston, and I had to earn my keep. And I needed to get more credible experience, but that's made me who I am today. I was fortunate to go back to the Rockets and have a long career where a lot of individuals like Rudy T and Carol Dawson and Dennis and Daryl and a handful of coaches that I'm very fortunate to call friends to this very day, helped me learn the game, helped me understand the league, and really invested a lot in me. And then this path, this process has been a gradual growth and development to fulfill all the things that people had invested in me. But, it's not something one person does alone. And I'm very fortunate that I'm in the position I am now, which is very rare, but it comes with a responsibility to be able to give back and to help others, whether they're Latinos or not, male or female, from different walks of life that have the same dream and have the same passion. And you guys said it earlier, but I think the biggest thing that drove me early on was passion and purpose. I knew in my heart what I wanted to do. I knew it was going to be hard, and understanding that and being willing to go through the ups and downs of that process made it fulfilling. And being here now in Minnesota, as you mentioned, it didn't happen overnight. And, I had a lot of different situations that I went through. But when you get to the right place, you realize you're where you're supposed to be. And for me, everything that I could have hoped and wished for has happened here in Minnesota. And we're building an incredible program here, one brick at a time. And we're excited not only about what lies ahead future-wise, but also at the same time, what we're experiencing now. As tough as it is, as hard as it is, tragedy and triumph with the organization, it's made us who we are, and it's brought us together as an organization. So I wouldn't have skipped any other step.
Gersson, I was going to say, man, I see your post. You guys seem so happy in Minnesota as a family, as a unit, I would say professionally and personally. I see some of your posts with the ownership group and how they've treated you and how that community has embraced you, and you've embraced them as well.
It's special. And, being in the league close to 20 years, you study champions, you study successful organizations, and you try to connect the dots on what works and what doesn't work. And a common factor for me as I went through it was the fact of alignment. And the more I talk to different teams, the more that I talk to different organizations, the reality that if everybody's not on the same page, and here in Minnesota, I found a pretty unique situation where we have an ownership group that was ready for a different approach. We have a head coach where we're both tied at the hip, and we're on the same page, going in the same direction. And I really think that resonates not only with our players, but with our staff. There's a strong commitment to what we're doing and how we're doing it. A lot of it I learned in Houston. A lot of it I learned throughout my time in the league. But we wanted to do something different here. And not that it's perfect or not that it's flawless, but a reflection on my values, my beliefs, my priorities. Our foundation's based on being innovative, being player-centric, being family-oriented and championship-driven. And those are just words early on, but a lot of our actions this season are bringing it to life. And how we treat our players, how we treat our staff, how we treat our fans. I can only be myself. I can't be anybody else. So the things that are important to me are things that resonated with ownership. The priorities, our philosophy, how we see the game is something Coach Saunders and I share strongly. And it's gotten the attention of our players. And we're fortunate we have a young group here that's willing to work, that's willing to listen. And we're excited. We have a lot of upside, which means we have a lot of work to do. But we've got an exciting group in place that we're looking forward to seeing these guys grow up together.
And, that culture has been tested here with everything going on with COVID-19, the shutdown, no end date in sight, it seems like, and we'll get to that in a second. But then you add the personal touch of everything with Kat's mom, Jackie Cruz Towns, passes away from COVID-19. I mean, how important was it, man, to lean on each other, to be there for Kat, and then as an organization, that's when the culture is really tested. What was that like?
Absolutely, and I think that's well said. I celebrated a year with the organization here last week or the week before, and I constantly got the question, your first year and everything you guys have lived through. I mean, we literally flipped the roster. We have 2 remaining players from when our new staff took over. We flipped 13 out of 15 roster spots, new front office, new coaching staff, just a strong newness to it. And a lot of times you can preach and talk and say the words that, are current and trendy and sound good and make people believe that, you're different, but you got to live it. And I've told people I wouldn't have this first year any other way. It came with a lot of challenges and a lot of tragedy, as you mentioned, Jackie Towns and what the Towns family has gone through. And we've had other players and other staffs that have had some hard losses during this period. But, it really personified our beliefs, and it really brought it to life in terms of who we're going to be, what we're going to be about, and how can we impact not only the fans, this market, but our organization, our players, and the bond that we have with Carl and his family, the bond that we have with the rest of our players, because this situation that we're all living, it changes the landscape. And, the touch points, the genuineness of what you're living and supporting each other and helping through it, we can only do it together. And I'm proud of our staff. I'm proud of the work that's been done, preparing for this. It was pretty ironic. I was actually in Houston when the season got shut down. We played in Houston, and we were actually supposed to be in OKC that day. It got shut down. We ended up staying in Houston an extra day because we were a little weary about what was going on. And to look back then, our preparation, our approach, our process, and to really feel the pain of this through the death of Jackie has been hard. But our staff, our players have rallied around. It's been incredible to see this organization come together. We've really gone above and beyond with our players, and it's tough. We got the youngest team in the NBA, and you're trying to create a structure where you can grow and develop, even though we're not playing games, even though we're not practicing right now. These are still development days for us, and we've set up protocols with our players where we have, our strength coaches or trainers are with our players, checking in with them every day. We've got some pretty cool things that we've had speaker series with our guys, with our players and our staff. We've had great speakers like Bob Iger, Tony Dungy. We had Alex Smith last week. Guys that are really challenging our guys, not only about basketball, but about life. Our guys have really rallied around CAD. We've had a chapel service every week where guys are really involved in, and it's something they've tried to keep, their faith and beliefs and values through these tough times. Our staff, this is the busiest time for us right now. We're preparing for a draft where we don't know when it's going to happen. We're preparing for free agency. We're preparing to finish a season and to start a new season. So, you try to turn the negatives into a positive, but that's who we are. And, you don't do this alone. We have an unbelievable staff here, and the opportunity where the platform has pushed us into the lights now and do what we're about. It's not just about saying, and it's not about winning games or losing games. It's about how do you impact people? How do you develop players, not only on the court and off the court? And that part of it, you can't ask for an opportunity to impact at the level we've been able to impact. So I'm proud of our staff, and I'm proud of the time we've been together. We're positive and focused moving forward through this period that will be better because of it. And the bonds that we've established, the experiences that we've had, however hard they've been, really define who we are and what we're about.
Gersson, over the last 24 hours, we've seen Bundesliga, German soccer return yesterday, NASCAR's return, some UFC. Looks like tomorrow the Rockets may be opening their doors for the guys to get in some workouts. Do you feel NBA basketball is coming? Does it feel like it's starting to go in that direction?
Yeah, there's some positive traction. I would say one of the most interesting thing throughout this period is how united the league has been, and whether it's teams with the league or teams and players and union, the Players Association, we all want it, but we want it in a safe and healthy platform. And the good thing for us is there's no rush. We've tried to make sure, and Adam Silver's done an unbelievable job of leading us and making sure that there's no clock. Unfortunately, if this season pushes out to August, September, we can deal with that. If next season pushes out to later than we're used to starting, we're okay with that. And I think we all understand that there's a bigger picture going on here than just playing games. And it's not only for the safety of our players and our staff, but it's also our fans and the impact of sports. But there's a lot of positive traction. I think, as facilities are opening up in the NBA and every market, every team is kind of taking their own route. We've been very sensitive to make sure that markets are safe and that we're not putting our players or our staff in danger. but it's, there's traction now, and I think people are working together. I think the more educated we are on this situation and how we can protect each other through this process gives us more confidence. Europe, Germany, those individuals went through this a little bit earlier than us, so they've got some guidance, they've got some directions. But to be fair, we're still a long way. There's still a lot of ups and downs. I think there's a lot of experimentation. There's a lot that's being done to try to get us to a more healthy place. But we got to be smart, and we got to be patient, and we got to do it the right way. We don't want to do anything for the sake of checking a box. We want to do things because we know we're putting our guys in a good situation and making sure that we can build off of that and continue to move forward.
Has there been any discussion from the league and everybody involved that, there might be a competitive advantage for certain teams to return earlier than others because of, just the uncertainty of not only reopening states and cities, but also because every city is different? Has there been any kind of discussion about that?
Yeah, no, it's been discussed. I think it's one of the the realities that we face, and our leadership group has really evaluated every scenario, and the reality is there is some competitive advantage, but there's also some risk. If you move too fast, you move too soon, you try to do too much, that competitive advantage might become a disadvantage, and that's what organizations are trying to stay away from. And it's just real. Every situation is different. Every market's different. All the players are different individuals, physically, mentally, and how they look at things. So you can't have a broad approach to what we're doing. And if some teams feel comfortable moving forward and doing it, more power to them. I think everybody knows their own market. We're going to be conservative. We're going to take our time and make sure we're doing it at the right time for the right reasons. And at the end of the day, the league's going to be pretty consistent about giving us time to ramp up and to be prepared, because there's a lot of hurdles. I mean, you guys know well, being around sports, it's not just about starting, and being in the gyms again, in the facilities, is just one step in terms of getting guys in a better place mentally, where they're back doing what they love, where they're back on the court. But the ramp up, getting in shape, making sure guys don't get hurt when they come back, those are all very important things to us. And we've got time. I think, if there's a difference in between a week or 2 weeks in terms of when you open, that's a timeline that teams can overcome and get to the same baseline when it's time to play games.
Gersson, I got to remind you of something. I know you know a lot of famous champions, but I don't know if if you realize you're right now with the 4-time Morey Cup champions. I was just looking over here, and look what I found. My little championship trophy from one of our many championships. As the defensive leader of that team, I just want to remind you that you're amongst greatness.
I think I played in the first year, and after that, mentally, I just checked out. So thank you for reminding me that cup has continued, and that you guys have continued to collect hardware in that era. But I remember a lot of good battles during those times.
Dude, that was the first time, I was in my 22 to 25 range during those years, and I felt good. I was in shape. I felt like I could hoop and carry my own, and playing in rec leagues and putting up numbers, all that. And then I came across Sean Respert, who's only the Big Ten scoring champion. I mean, had a decorated career. Gersson, I haven't caught a butt whooping like that ever in my life. Like, there's such a difference between guys like us and just, we love the game and it's part of our fabric, and then guys that are pros. And Sean Respert, who was part of the Rockets organization at the time, I mean, he was going probably 30%, and I was like, okay, I can't do anything here.
No, and you know what? We always kidded with Sean that I think Sean was a better player at that stage than when he played in the NBA. And part of it was just IQ and feel, because he always had the tools. But when he was with us with the Rockets, I mean, just his ability to shoot and his strength and where his body was at and his health was pretty impressive. But there's a pretty impressive alumni group. Kenny Atkinson, can't forget about the GOAT, B.J. Johnson, and the work that he did on that court. But those were fun times, man. We, unfortunately, I suffered the torn ACL, which led to my retirement from morning hoops. But those were some spirited runs, man. We had some good memories.
Gersson, one final thought on the 3-on-3. I only bring it up because it's just funny. Typical David and Raheel. One of the matches we had was against Calvin Murphy, and Murph wasn't ready for a 5'10" assassin like me to play some defense. And bro, he came at me.
There were some words said. There were some individuals that were pushed around. Security was called.
Yes,
man. Media hoops. People just take it way too seriously, like David.
And man, you put competitors on the floor and you give them a ball, man. They are who they are, and that's who Murph is. Unfortunately, you're not changing him. Whether it's pickup, NBA, whatever it is, he's going to compete at a high level.
Well, Gersson, we appreciate your time, man. We miss you around here. We're so happy for your success. It's we're all. I can speak for Raheel here, T-Wolves fans, because of you. We hope nothing but the best for you, my man.
No, I appreciate you guys. I hope you and your families are safe and healthy. Wish everyone a warm hello, and it's a pleasure being with you guys. And through all of this, it's nice to talk about hoops and nice to remember some fun memories. So all the best to you guys. Thank you for the opportunity to come on.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Gersson.
man. We'll talk soon.
Thank you.
See you.